There is a highly popular piece of advice circulating today. Establish the state in your heart, and it will automatically establish itself on the land. It tells people to retreat inward. It is an incredibly appealing message. This idea offers a deep sense of religious and moral accomplishment, all without requiring anyone to step outside and face the physical dangers of political struggle. But this mindset acts as a tranquilizer. It confines well-meaning people to comfortable bubbles, isolated study circles, mosques, and air-conditioned complexes. They mistake passive education for active state building. To see the logical flaw in this framework, think about a man who hasn't eaten in days. If he is starving, establishing a restaurant in his heart will not put a single calorie in his body. Securing actual food requires him to stand up, walk, gather ingredients, and cook. Applying magical, purely internal thinking to the massive logistical task of building a government is exactly the same. It is a self-inflicted paralysis disguised as piety, and it guarantees failure. The physical world operates on strict, inescapable rules. In Islamic tradition, this is known as sunnatullah, the universal laws of cause and effect governing nature. Take thermodynamics. Water begins to boil at exactly 100 degrees Celsius under standard pressure. It will never boil at 80 degrees, no matter how much you wish it to. Nature requires precise, measurable physical inputs to trigger a phase change. Human societies are bound by these exact same physical rules. Transitioning from a state of subjugation to complete sovereignty requires a specific set of physical conditions to be met. A government is a tangible, worldly mechanism. Because it exists in the physical world, it demands worldly engineering and planning to construct. This diagram illustrates the architecture of statehood. Whether the governing system relies on Islamic, democratic, or communist ideals, a state relies on three non-negotiable requirements to survive. The first is land. You must hold and defend sovereign physical territory. The second is a distinct population to inhabit that land and drive the society. The third is structure. You need an operational framework, legal authority, and a bureaucratic mechanism to actually govern. History shows us exactly what happens when you remove one of these elements. Look at the Native American tribes during European expansion. They possessed vast tracts of land and a strong population, but they operated in fragmented camps without a unified, overarching state machinery to coordinate their defense. That missing structural pillar led directly to their subjugation. We can observe the exact inverse of this problem by looking at the Palestinians. They have a cohesive population and a structural government framework, but because they lack secure, sovereign physical territory, they cannot function as an independent state entity in the global system. Immense internal ideological purity cannot substitute for even a single missing physical pillar. A state cannot exist in an architectural vacuum. So let's entertain a stark hypothetical. What if, by some miracle, collective spiritual purity paid off, and a fully sovereign ideological state magically appeared tomorrow morning? The system would collapse on day one. The population would possess absolutely no practical capability or expertise to operate the machinery of a nation. Running a state is not glamorous. It requires managing complex power grids, executing long-term economic planning, establishing supply chains, and enduring exhausting physical labor. Bringing a system of laws into physical reality demands rigorous, organized, and tedious preparation. Yet, large segments of today's movements simply demand outcomes. They organize protests and hold banners asking external forces to solve their problems, relying on outside resolutions rather than building their own administrative tools. True societal transformation is never automatic. To survive, you have to abandon the comforting myth of spiritual passivity and embrace the brutal, physical labor of real-world